I'm going to be discussing about the just transition in Africa, and I'm also going to try and provide information to our businesses on the basis of why we are advocating or pushing for what we're pushing for with regards to climate change and an energy just transition. So I'm going to refer to the Ipcc report. So the Ipcc report is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. So the Ipcc is a group of 195 governments, which includes African governments. It also includes South Africa, who have signed up to the Ipcc and are part of the panel. So this body is responsible for providing the scientific data or scientific basis or evidence of climate change and also climate-related issues. So this, the current report that they released this year evidences the certainty of human activities as the cause of global warming, which has caused climate change. So this is a very crucial report that our business people need to go through, need to appreciate and read. Because when you talk about human activities, we're talking about how businesses have been, are being conducted globally and across Africa, and how that has contributed towards greenhouse gas emissions, which cause global warming, which causes climate change. So it is these activities that we are pushing, that we need to transform the manner in which we're doing our businesses. We need to transform how we are doing businesses on the ground. As was said by my colleague MJ, that South Africa is one of the biggest polluters, with its coal power stations contributing much to climate change and also affecting climate resilience in communities that live in areas and around the projects, the fossil fuel projects. This not only includes South Africa, but the whole of Africa, which needs to move from dirty energy production to cleaner renewable energy. So again, like I was saying, that this report is very sobering as it gives the evidence of the climate change and how climate change is already affecting Africa. So the information provided by the report is very much up to date. And the report is very clear. It strictly says that there is no room to delay climate action, to delay immediate ambitious plans. So I'm going to give a brief summary of what the report says with regards to the impacts and how Africa is being affected by climate change. First of all, it mentions that the mean temperatures and hot extremes in Africa are above the natural variability in all regions of Africa. So this includes South Africa, this includes every region, Southern Africa, Northern Africa, Eastern, Western, Central Africa. It says that as a result of climate change, our temperatures are very much extreme. We're experiencing hot temperatures, and they are going to be increasing if our businesses do not curb the impacts of their activities, and if they do not transition towards renewable energy. So these hot extremes are actually resulting in heat waves and even cold extremes in some cases. And also the report mentions that the marine heat waves have become much more frequent, and also the sea level around Africa is actually increasing as a result of climate change. And also the report expressly says that Africa is experiencing and will be experiencing an increase in heavy precipitation in almost all areas of Africa. And those regions where there is aridity or deserts, they're actually going to intensify. We're going to have more arid areas. So from the look of things, I think this is giving us the urge that we need to change how we're doing businesses. With regards to South Africa, South Africa needs to transform its energy systems and way of doing businesses, including other countries also that are dependent on fossil fuels, including Nigeria, including Morocco, and all the other countries that are affecting their environment, affecting their livelihoods as a result of the manner in which they are conducting their businesses. So some of the ways that our businesses have been influencing the African marginalized groups is, for example, through land grabs, businesses that grab land, that grab community commons, such as grabbing water, polluting water. This again is going to affect how communities build their resilience with regards to climate change. So again, this report is a very crucial report for all businesses who have to carefully go through the report and consider the various recommendations that are given by various organizations after reflecting on the report. I'm also going to talk about one of the reports which has been produced by our partners. So as the Africa Core Network, we work with various partners across Africa, as was mentioned, groundwork. We also have got Friends of the Earth who produced a report on just transition. So I'm going to specifically touch on their Just Recovery Renewable Energy Plan for Africa. I think this is a very crucial report that gives insights on how Africa should be able to take steps forward in terms of shifting from a destructive fossil fuel industry, which has been providing us with energy, to a much more regenerative, ecological way of providing energy to the millions of Africa which still lack energy. So the report brings out that Africa is suffering from the impacts of climate change. And also, in addition to that, we've got COVID-19, which is still affecting Africa. So from these two, whilst Africa, most of the African countries have not contributed much with regards to greenhouse gas emissions, we are the ones that are mostly affected by the impacts of climate change and also of COVID-19. So the energy poverty in Africa is still very, very much high, which means that the coal industry, the fossil fuel industry, has not managed to bring Africa out of the energy poverty and has not contributed much with regards to Africa's development. So globally, 3/4 of those globally that don't have access to electricity, Africa takes 3/4 of that. So this is a huge gap with regards to energy access, electricity access in Africa. So which means we're still very much lagging behind. The coal industry, fossil fuel industry has not provided meaningful contribution with regards to energy access development for Africa. So this again brings us to a point that businesses have got a huge, African businesses have got a huge role to play with regards to ensuring that 3/4 or in terms of Africa, it's nearly 600 million people that still don't have access to energy, access to electricity in Africa. So again, this is something that our businesses should be able to tap into to ensure that those 600 million, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, still don't have access to energy. And then again, this brings us to the opportunities that come from renewable energy. There's a lot of potential for employment in solar, wind, and clean energy. And whilst we're calling for a just energy transition, we're also there are various aspects of the energy transition that are brought out in the report, which includes a just transition which is feminist, that is, which again does not model the same impacts that we have seen being given or that are being produced by the coal industry. We've seen how women have not had access to energy. The whole energy poverty dynamic affects women. And so our businesses, when they're rolling out renewable energy, they need to consider how women have not had access to energy, how women have suffered from the impacts of the extractive nature of the energy system that currently exists in Africa. So again, the report specifically mentions that by 2030, Africa needs 300 gigawatts of renewable energy. So this is again potential in terms of where businesses are able to actually invest. And then by 2050, Africa will need 2,000 gigawatts of energy. However, like I've been mentioning, that there are various principles which need to govern how we do business. That is gender justice. And when we're rolling out renewable energy or deploying renewable energy, it should not be extractive in nature. When I say renewable energy should not be extractive, I mean to say that the way in which renewable energy is going to be deployed with regards to the renewable infrastructure, renewable facilities, it should not result in challenges that will affect human dignity with regards to access to water, access to clean air, access to clean water, also even in terms of their livelihoods. We have seen how coal projects have displaced communities, how there have been a lot of land grabbing, displacement, relocation, and so forth. Renewable energy offers if deployed well, it allows that coexistence between communities and the projects themselves. And also, again, another tenet that we're pushing for is that renewable energy, like I mentioned, that the way in which our energy systems have been deployed in Africa are more colonial, which means they focused on providing energy to urban areas and also to areas that result in their sense of economic production, which has left out the marginalized areas, rural areas, without access to energy. So which means when businesses come in to deploy renewable energy, they should have this in mind and ensure that renewable energy is deployed at a community level, at a municipal level, where the marginalized groups can have access to that energy. And then also in the report, it shows that renewable energy has got the potential to create 7 million jobs, right? So here, when I was talking about employment, I know it has been a huge concern that, okay, if we phase out fossil fuels, if we phase out coal, what is going to happen with the workers? So renewable energy is still able to provide employment, 7 million jobs, as has been highlighted by the report. And the jobs come throughout the value chain of renewable energy deployment, which looks at equipment manufacturing, operational technical support. So all these are opportunities that come from renewable energy deployment. And like I mentioned earlier on, that Africa has got a history of colonial extractivism, which shows in the way in which our energy systems have been deployed, whereby if you are amongst the marginalized population, and was shown again by the video, if you noticed in the video, we showed the colonial history of coal, the colonial history of energy systems, which resulted in displacement of communities, in grabbing of land. So that again has morphed into corporate impunity extractivism, whereby even our current corporations, our current energy systems are still polluting our water, they're still polluting our land. If you look at the case of BP in Nigeria, or BP and Shell in Nigeria, and the case which was won by Nigeria, how, you know, the various, our seas are being polluted as a result of the business activities by the fossil fuel industry. So again, like I mentioned earlier on, that our clients at this moment with regards to renewable energy are the 600 million that suffer from energy poverty. So which means energy should not be treated as a commodity, but as a common good, where everyone has got a right to access energy, where everyone is able to have their decision influence the deployment of renewable energy. And also look at issues with sufficiency, and how energy should be able to provide a dignified life for the women who go out into the forest to look for wood to cook, to provide meals for their family. This is how energy, when it is being deployed, should take into consideration. And also the issue of climate resilience. Like I mentioned earlier on, that Africa is much more affected, disproportionately affected by the impacts of climate change. Zimbabwe is still recovering from Cyclone Idai. Mozambique is still recovering from Cyclone Idai. There are a number of climate crises that Africa is still grappling with and will continue to suffer from if we do not mitigate the impacts of climate change, and if we do not change the manner in which we are doing business. So again, the manner in which you do business should be climate resilient. So how can we foster this? Which means our businesses should not be large mega businesses that will result in displacement of people, or take away the land which our communities produce their food using. So, and also our investments, our businesses should protect biodiversity, which means there should be a coexistence between nature, between biodiversity and energy projects. And land rights should be respected, and workers should be able to work in a dignified manner. That is, there should not be any exploitation of workers as a result of the deployment of energy. And also the energy infrastructure, the distribution network should be decentralized and ensure that even the 800 million that lack energy have access to that. So here, businesses should be able to prioritize the social outcomes of their business rather than to solely focus on profit. So the social outcomes again, reflect back on the issues of dignity that I talked about, the issues of livelihoods, the issues to do with climate resilience, and also the issues to do with gender justice. So again, if we look at the fossil fuel industry, let me just inform our businesses that an energy transition is already happening. It is already in motion. As we have seen in the past 2 years, multilateral financing institutions, development finance institutions have been abandoning the support of fossil fuel projects. We've seen China, recently they made the announcement that they won't be supporting or funding any fossil fuel projects. We've seen various projects that have been abandoned, fossil fuel projects, which include the massive Lamu project in Kenya, the Zimbabwe Sengwa, and also from the video, you saw the Medupi and Kosile coal plant that have been abandoned by finance from Korea, from Japan. So which means there will not be any funding for fossil fuel projects in Africa, and thus we need to transition as well with this transition that is ongoing at this moment. So again, some fossil fuel projects have been resisted by various communities as a result of the impacts they've had. I can mention the issue, the case in Nigeria, whereby the women in Nigeria have demonstrated against coal mining activities in Benue State. So these coal mining activities, which feed into the into the energy sector, have resulted in water pollution and have degraded the land which the women use to cultivate their land. And women have resisted this project. So as a result of the ongoing resistance, because of the lack of coexistence between the coal industry, the fossil fuel industry, and the communities that also depend on the same land to produce their livelihoods, there hasn't been a coexistence. So this lack of coexistence has actually accelerated the transition towards renewable energy, which is better able to live in coexistence with communities, with nature, with biodiversity, if deployed in a sustainable manner. So we as businesses need to move along with the energy transition and to ensure that the people's demands are in line with how we do our business. And let me also just say, renewable energy deployment can be done at a small scale, which means our African businesses, where there's lack of huge finance, our local businesses can still tap into that, into renewable energy and ensure that they deploy it even at a small scale, because it can be deployed at a small scale versus the big, massive fossil fuel projects, which need to be deployed at a very large scale. So again, this is also beneficial. And again, there's an ongoing phase out, even with regards to the exports of coal. Very soon, I know there are a number of companies which are mining coal, supplying them to different countries across Africa. This chain again will soon dry up, and thus businesses need to move towards renewable energy. Next slide, please.
Speaker Simon suggesting.
Okay. So I'm going to give an example of a case study in South Africa, whereby a group of people came together and founded an organization called Zonke Energy. So this organization was formed in 2017. They had a mission to deliver clean and affordable energy to informal settlements. So this organization did their research, and then they realized that, okay, 2 million people in South Africa live in settlements that do not have formal access to energy. They also realized that the people in these informal settlements pay around 400 rand a month to get energy, dirty energy fuels such as paraffin and petrol for generators. So with this study that they carried out, they realized that they can actually provide a service to the disenfranchised, to those living in the informal settlements. And then they also realized that the fuel that the energy that was being used in the informal settlement was very dangerous to the people, was also very much unreliable as well. And they also did not have access to the large-scale grids that provide energy to the whole of South Africa. So with this in mind, they then decided to deploy renewable energy to the informal settlements. So this business model is very interesting because they also realize that the groups in the informal settlements do not have the money to purchase the solar panels and so forth. So they, as the business, procured the solar panels, and then now the residents in the informal settlements pay a small amount each month, pay the same 400 rand to them each month to supply the energy, to rent out the solar panels. And then they also have got a prepaid meter whereby the people in the informal settlements are able to pay for their energy and also then also provide energy in their household. So again, this business model really works. Like I said, that the large population in Africa that don't have electricity are the people in the marginalized areas. So which means businesses have to think of social ways of ensuring that these groups have got, all the groups have got access to renewable energy that is clean and that can be deployed at that very local level. And other issues that they noted was that the communities in the informal settlements didn't also have access to the formal banking sector. It's another thing again that they took into consideration. And then they even collaborated with payment platforms such as the Kunye payment platform. So again, like I said, that there is a possibility to actually feed off, businesses feeding off of each other. This is an energy company that is also feeding into another finance platform in order to meet the issue in terms of banking systems and how groups in informal settlements can actually pay for their energy. So again, these are some of the models that we are looking at and how they can empower communities, at the same time provide businesses to those that want to engage or deploy businesses at a very local level. Next slide. So thank you very much. Now we've come to the end of our presentation, but we're still going to continue with the discussions. My big question is to all the people on this platform, people that are doing businesses, how are you going to take into consideration issues to do with just transition, issues to do with climate change, all the issues that we discussed in our presentation? Have you had or formulated any thoughts around how we can actually engage in business in a manner that ensures that we provide clean energy, we carry out businesses that are socially responsible, and we do not model the same extractive colonial nature of our former businesses? So I would like to hear from everyone on this platform how they intend to engage in their businesses from now going forward, or if there are any that are actually involved in socially responsible ecological businesses, regenerative businesses. Would also like to hear from you how you're going about that.